Good morning, business growers. Hello. I'm obviously just going to wait a few moments. I'm also going to set this up on Instagram stories. So if you don't currently follow me on Instagram, I'm on Instagram. I love Instagram actually. I've just changed my username. It used to be Rachel Smith, and now I've just changed it to the Business Grow, so you can find me really easily. And obviously, with Facebook, they're forever changing the algorithms and everything else, and it's using another channel, even though it's owned and run by Facebook. It's a really great way to ensure that you have good reach, and you kind of combat the whole changes that Facebook do. So I'm going to also do a live on Instagram. So I'm going to be running my live here in the group via my desktop, and then I'm going to attempt to run it from here. It's checking connection. My husband's working from home today, so sometimes our connection gets a little compounded, shall we say. So I hope you're all right on this Wednesday. Right, we're having trouble with starting. Let's see if I can do it again. Might not start on Instagram stories. I might not have to do this one. Sorry, we can cope. So many of you, if you are parents or if your clients' parents, many of you might be on half term this week. We don't actually go on half term until next week, so I think we're slightly out of kilter with everybody else. So if you are running an online business and you're not in the whole cycle of school holidays and perhaps you're wondering where people are, you can pretty much guarantee that they're on holiday. We'll be away for part of next week, and we will have no internet connection, which is always interesting. Right, I can't do an Instagram live, all best intentions. I'll have to try it next time my husband's not here. So today we're going to talk about how you can attract your soulmate clients without the hustle. So that's what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to be sharing a recent experience of mine. We're going to be talking about your business. Good morning, Victoria. And then we're going to be talking about this strategy about how you can attract your soulmate clients without the hustle, because hustle's very masculine. It suits some women. So as you come on board, come and say hi. If you're watching this recording back, come and join in the conversations. Just because you've not been here live doesn't mean that you can't be part of the conversations. So Victoria, for yourself, it'd be really interesting before we get into the content to understand, are you kind of like one of these ladies who really enjoys the hustle of hustling for clients, hustling for the sale, or are you more towards the kind of feminine energy of not getting into the hustle, but then wondering if you're not hustling, how you're actually going to generate those sales and attract your clients? So it'd be great to know where you are on that sort of thing, and we'll be talking about this a little bit more as we get into the content. I'm not normally here on a Wednesday morning. I'm normally kickboxing, but I'm going tonight instead. So I thought I'd just use this time that I'm not normally here and create a live. Okay, so let's talk about hustle in the first place. Let's get that out in the open. Hustle is kind of like, everybody has their own definition. This is my definition. This is where you are hustling the entire day for sales. So you might be doing a live stream, creating opportunities for sales conversations. You may be putting out some written content with a sales kind of option in there. You might be sat there PMing people who are in your world. So it's all about really being very focused on the hustle. You might be doing that for a good chunk of the day. I know that there are some very successful entrepreneurs who are out there and they're hustling all day long, and they really are working very successfully in their business. Yeah, so Victoria's saying that she is not a fan of hustle. She is more towards the feminine, which is building relationships, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So, you know, so for some women, they can get into the hustle and they really enjoy the hustle. I definitely, like last year, in 2016, when I was kind of being playful in my business and trying to figure out what I really loved to deliver, what was working well for my clients, I was definitely more in hustle mode. And it can be really exciting. It can be really energizing, and you can get some fabulous results from it. So I'm not opposed to hustle, but actually there is a better way and an easier way and, you know, a more graceful way that you can actually attract your clients. And the kind of biggest kind of that I have about hustle is that it's something that I'm not naturally. So I have to put a lot of energy into hustling. It very much puts me in my masculine, and I find it absolutely exhausting. Yes, Victoria just said she finds it exhausting, definitely. But it can be exciting. So sometimes people just get into the hustle mode, perhaps when they're launching a product or a new service, and they get into that kind of hustle mode, and maybe it's just for 10 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then after that, you have a big kind of rest period because you're like all worn out from it. So as you join, come and tell me, come and share with Victoria and I, you know, how you like to attract your clients, what works well for you. So I'm going to share a story with you, which I thought was really fascinating. So Victoria and I, you know, we've been on the online world for a long time now, and we understand that our soulmate clients are women, and actually the way that women like to connect with people who they may or may not buy from is through developing a relationship. And we'll talk about how you can do that as well really effectively in this live. So the story that I had was from this weekend, and I went into a showroom for cars, and we all have like those kind of assumptions that we're going to have a certain type of experience when we go into a garage, into a sales room for cars. You know, immediately, you know, you're surrounded predominantly by men, and it often feels like a hard sell. It often feels like if you're not leaving with a brand new car by the end of it, you know, they've really done a really poor job. And this experience that I had on Sunday was really different. So I didn't have an appointment. It was something that had been in my mind for ages, to actually go out and check out 2 models of a car that I'm considering buying. And my son and I were just driving past the location. We were like, right, let's just go in. So we parked up. It was not busy at all. This was fairly early on a Sunday morning. So I was greeted by a female receptionist who's immediately like, oh, just check out where the expert is on these 2 models. And he wasn't immediately available. So she sat me and my son down, and we had a hot drink. Interestingly, it wasn't like a boiling hot drink, so it was like you could drink it straight away. I don't know if they did that on purpose, but you could kind of drink it straight away. And by the time that we'd finished our drink, we'd been sat in that environment for maybe 10 minutes, and then the salesman came over to me and he asked me what we were looking for, and I said, you know, I'm considering these 2 models, but I haven't really seen them up close, so I was expecting the whole big spiel. And he was like, right, let's go and have a look at these cars. So we looked at both cars, and that was kind of it. And at the end of it, he said, right, okay, so could I take your email address? We don't have any brochures. What we're going to do is send you out some information on the 2 models that you're considering, if that's what you'd like. So I handed over my email address, and I was sent the information, and the information was really interesting. It's like you've got all the spec stuff. I'm never going to look at the spec stuff. My husband will look at the spec stuff. I won't look at the spec stuff. But you got some videos as well, and the videos were like 2 minutes long, no more than that. And they were really like inspirational, like, you know, like this is what the experience is like. And then since then, I've just had 1 email from them just asking me what my experience was like with them. And I came out of that garage and I was like, wow, you know, they have really learned the power of forming a relationship, because before garages were really hustly, and you know, this is how to do business. This is about brokering a relationship with somebody. It would have been really off-putting for me if I'd gone into that garage and got a hard sell. I would have tried to get us out of there as fast as possible. I wouldn't have stopped for a coffee. I would have probably made some excuse and just fled. thinking, no, this is not how I wanted to spend a Sunday. So, if you're not already using a similar approach in your business, this is something that I really want to explore with you today. And this is, for all that I can get into the hustle and I can get some really great results and it can be really exciting, my preferred approach is to actually broker relationships, because as a coach, when I'm working with clients, whether that's in a group or as an individual, you aren't just a number, you are a person, and everybody is different. So it's really essential for me as a coach, but equally for my clients, to have a relationship with me beforehand. In so many ways with coaching, people are not just handing over money, they're handing over their dreams, they're handing over their biggest fears. They've got to have a lot of confidence that I am the right person for them. They are not going to get that from me immediately going, hi, I'm Rachel, I'm amazing, look at my results, look at what I can achieve for you, here's something for you to buy, and you've never heard from me before. It is very much about brokering a relationship with all of our clients, and there's some really fabulous ways that you can do that. And especially if you are selling to other female entrepreneurs or women or parents or whatever they are, but if they're women want to have a relationship with a person that they're looking to invest in. If you think about your own buying experience, how often do you go into shops that you actually don't have an existing relationship with? Or do you mainly stick with the same people that you've got an existing relationship with? And I know some people who, for example, love Marks and Spencer's, and it's because their mums love Marks and Spencer's, and they've got a real trust in the brand. And that's just one example. There'll be other examples as well. It could be Boots, it could be WH Smith, whatever it is. But, from your own buying experience, we very much do buy from people who we've got an existing relationship with, and it becomes a bit of a no-brainer, doesn't it? It's like you don't have to think too hard about whether or not you actually want to go ahead and make that purchase, because you already have established that like and trust them, and therefore you trust the money that you're actually going to spend on people. So how can you bring that into your business? So Victoria, who's here, and anybody else, it'd be really interesting for me to understand, and for the wider audience to understand, is this a strategy that you currently use in your business? So if you'd like to share that, and if you want to go a little bit further and actually share how that happens for you. So let's talk about this a little bit further. So I said I was going to share a strategy about how you can attract in your soulmate clients without the hustle, and it's about building that relationship. So how do you build that relationship? And there are so many brilliant ways to do it. And I am not a fan of saying, here's a formula, go and apply that, that's going to work for you. Because I'm an extrovert, but for many of my clients, they're not extroverts, they're introverts, or they really don't want to be working in the way that I work. So it wouldn't work for anybody if I gave people my template of what works for me and what works for my audience. So it's very much thinking about, who you are as a person and how you could show up consistently in front of your audience, and what does that look like? So for me, that looks like doing live streams, doing webinars, challenges, being in other groups, being part of teleseminars, doing podcasts, being on Instagram, doing YouTube videos, all of those things. I'm really happy with it, and I'm not advocating that you do all of those things. This is something that's just organically grown in me, and I often repurpose a lot of my content across those different channels. But for you, it's thinking about, how can you actually show up consistently and start to broker a relationship with the women or the men that you are looking to work with. So just start to think about that, and think about also perhaps things that you've done in the past that's worked really well. So perhaps you've had a series of printables or freebies where you've been able to create some content and give them a call to action at the end to download your freebie. Then they've come into your world, and then you can email them, you can maybe send them some new resources. Or perhaps you could run a challenge or create some content in your private group or somebody else's group like this. It's always thinking about how you can show up, showing your skills, and really creating content for your soulmate clients. Do you need to have call to action every single time? I don't think you do. I mean, like if you're in hustle mode or launch mode, yes, you'd want to be creating those opportunities to tell people what you've got. And at the end of this live stream, I haven't got a call to action for any of you. You know, you're in my group. I'm going to come in. I'm really happy to create some content with you to help and support you in your business. That's exactly what developing a relationship's like. You know, I've done that with Victoria and she's come and worked with me. I know that we'll work together in the future. And it's exactly the same for you and your audience. And if you're thinking, well, you know, I don't want to do lives, it's way out of my comfort zone, there's lots of other ways that you can actually do it. Now, so for Victoria, I know that she is very active on Instagram. She's very active in other Facebook groups, and it's all about, you know, putting yourself in front of your soulmate clients on a consistent basis. I'm not going to say it's like 2 or 3 times a day. It's about what you can manage and what works for you, and creating content and starting to harbour that relationship. It's not necessarily like a hustly pushy kind of scenario, definitely. And you know, it's about 13 or 15 contacts that people generally need to have before they know whether or not they want to come into your world a little bit further. So the garage is doing exactly the right thing. They're not trying to get me in for a test drive. They're not sending me a list of cars that are available in these 2 models. They're just leaving it there, aren't they? And that's what you need to also have, is the confidence that you can consistently show up to your audience. You can create content, you can talk to them. And, you know, when you're ready to put an offer in front of them or a call to action, you know that you've done that kind of groundwork. But it's about being, you know, the only must here is about being consistent. So many people like really get energized and they really put a load of effort into being visible and doing amazing things, and then they go off the boil. You know, perhaps you haven't got the results that you wanted to, and you go off and perhaps you go and try something else, or you kind of put your head under the blankets and have a little moan, and then, you know, it maybe takes you a couple of weeks or a couple of months to get back on track. But you were probably very close to actually getting the results that you wanted. It's just about showing up all the time and finessing what you do and fine-tuning what you do, and ensuring that you're doing it consistently, you're showing up, you're speaking your truth, and you're connecting with your audience. And then when you're ready, you can start to pull your soulmate clients into you. And I think this is a whole different live stream, but I think there's definitely something where people hide behind the websites and they, you know, maybe they're creating content, maybe they've been really proactive in being visible, but actually in terms of actually going out there and sharing how somebody can work with them as a specific offer, they kind of hide behind the website. They think if they get people in front of their website that they will click on the work with me button, and people just don't. They just don't do that because they haven't really built up that relationship. It's going to come from, you know, a conversation like this, or through a webinar, or through a conversation on the telephone, or something like that where you are actually in person. So if you've got any questions about that, whether you're live or whether you're listening back to the recording, let me know. But, you know, it's very much about starting to think about how you can develop your relationships. And you might think, well, this sounds like it's going to take forever, but actually you can do it really fast as well. And there's lots of really cool ways that you can do that. And if you want to know more, just, you know, again, comment in the box below and let's have that exploration. Let's explore how you could rapidly develop a relationship with people who've only just got to know you. So any questions, I'm here for you today. After all, it is Questions Wednesday. It's really interesting when I've put the themes up for the group that actually the kind of the day that people don't respond to is the day when I ask them what the questions are. And it was just like this before when I've run different products and services when there's been a Q&A. It's like people are very reserved about asking their questions. And I don't know if that stems from thinking that, well, they're the only ones who feeling like this or think like this, I've got this challenge. And I can definitely say that not at all. Everybody has very similar challenges. That's definitely been my experience. So I can see that we've got some new people who've just joined us. We're just kind of coming to the end of this. So definitely look back through the recording. If you've got any comments, add them on to the comments box. I do check and I do come back and respond to them as well. But it's very much about thinking about your own strategy for building relationships in your business. You know, what does that look like? How is it working? How could you accelerate it? And what do? You know, if you are showing up consistently, developing those relationships, you know, what's your next step? Do you have a product? Do you get them into your email list? You know, how do you call them into your world? And, you know, how do you then get them ready for an offer? So, right, have a very fabulous Wednesday. Don't forget to watch this back, leave your questions, leave your comments, tell us how you are doing this in your business, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Bye for now.